Hey, with us now, let's bring in the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator, we've been talking this morning about how a few Republicans have said some deeply offensive things about what happened yesterday. Lindsey Graham said he was deeply offended by the presentations like that yesterday. Rick Scott called it a waste of time. Others were derogatory. Ron Johnson was bringing up Hillary Clinton. I just, as you sit there and you watch the evidence pile up against Donald Trump and you hear chants, hang Mike Pence, you watch the cop killers get into the Capitol building. What's your thought about some of your own colleagues being so dismissive and so disrespectful of the process, and especially of the police officers who died or were seriously wounded that day?
Well, Joe, I don't know how anyone who was on the floor of the Senate January 6th, which I was, and I think most of those colleagues you mentioned were, could not have been moved by yesterday, by the Congresswoman's comments. I mean, the analogy to what happened on 9/11. I don't know how anyone in their heart of hearts could say, these images you're showing right now, that but for Donald Trump, but for his unwillingness to accept the will of the American people vote, that somehow this would have happened if Donald Trump had not incited them, if Donald Trump had not promoted the notion, the lie that somehow he had won the election in a big landslide. I don't know how anyone can call themselves a defender of law and order when you say this mob, it's okay for this mob to rampage and pillage. And I think as Congressman Plasek just said, the Capitol is more than those of us who work there, and it is truly a representation of our democracy. And people have given their lives to defend that democracy so many times. Obviously, the men and women on Flight 93, a classic example. And for people to be dismissive or is an insult to who and what we represent as America. And I don't know, there may be, somebody made the comment yesterday, it may be good short-term politics for the next few weeks or even for the next 2 years for some of these folks to avoid the truth or avoid the responsibility. But I don't know how people will live with themselves 5 years, 10 years. What will they tell their kids or grandkids where they stood when the question of accountability of January 6th took place? The comparison was made as well yesterday to Joe McCarthy, who frankly lives in infamy now because of his red baiting tactics in the early 50s. And the fact that it took a while for the Senate to get its, to grow any courage to take him down. But what Joe McCarthy did pales in comparison with the kind of big lie and inciting folks towards violence. And as you said, Joe, the idea that Donald Trump had so little disdain for any of us that he was willing to have these folks go after and threaten the life of his vice president, Mike Pence, that in and of itself is such a damning comment. And people, those who are defending that, those who are defending, how will they ever look in Mike Pence in the face?
So, Mark, adding on to the but-for argument that is so strong here, the Democrats and the Republicans yesterday in the chamber, hearing this, listening to this, they're not hearing and listening to a story that happened in the Oval Office or somewhere else. This is a story about what happened to right where they were sitting, to who they are. You all, Democrats and Republicans, were the victims to what happened on January 6th. You were the witnesses to a riot that led to death and maiming of many people. And so I guess with that in mind, what do you say to your Republican counterparts who are still not moved?
Well, I think there may be some revisionist history, and I'm not going to speak to any individual member, but if you were on the floor of the Senate yesterday, everyone was riveted.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.